Delta, Quaglon, Braced, R2S. Alright, thank you guys for all subbing, resubbing. Welcome back, Camp guys. Feels bad when SKT are gonna win another Worlds. I don't know, man. Samsung looked pretty strong against Longzhu.
Only one team will be left standing. Ready. Fight.
They didn't come all the way around. Oh wait. Oh, okay, it wasn't me. Oh. Okay, alright, I see why. So they banned Vi, so we just dodged. Alright. I thought I dodged. But no, they just target banned Vi, so it's fine.
Ready. Fight.
What?
Hello, survivors. Welcome back to the garage, the Waste's vault of knowledge. You're watching the most in-depth and useful show for every true fan of Crossout. Subscribe now and don't forget to click the bell icon, never to miss another episode full of good stuff straight from the devs. And don't forget that we now also have the Crossout show here. The best designers and drivers can compete for prizes. Get in, watch, take part. Buckle up, fellas. It's time to go. Survivors, the 0.8.0 Crossout patch adds more than just a scientist faction into the game. A list of maps has also some new names, but we'll start talking about arenas a bit from afar, with the changes in game modes since the new locations are directly connected to these. There's a new additional raid type in the Wastes, the Chase. It's similar to Convoy Escort, only with inverse rules. Now the truck is guarded by bots. You'll need to neutralize the enemies and to intercept the cargo. Different factions transport the valuables, so the crafts will be different, both in appearance and in weaponry and defense. Convoy Escort missions feel different too. The riders complained that the mission took too long and the dynamics sagged. But all of this is history now. The truck no longer reduces speed when damaged and ignores the ride in front of it, continuing to move. Points of involuntary stop are gone. Left with no escort, the truck will move on 40% of its max speed, and the leaving players will be notified on the impact on this process. These improvements are only a week old, but the survivors all over the Wastes have already noticed that the missions are now more vehement and dangerous. What does this mean? Right, the prizes have also changed. From now on, the fighters get copper, coupons, and electronics from raids. And you can only get electronics from the most dangerous missions. Hard work should be rewarded accordingly. Both the Chase and Convoy Escort are available on a brand new map called Devil's Minery. Once a huge mining complex built on a noble scale, it has decayed after the Judgment Day. Today, it's the shortest and most comfortable tradeway between the valley and the western Khaganate, with precious cargo caravans cruising all over the place, and hundreds of raiders living in old mines looking for a savory dip in the gravy. Devil's Minery is built based on the same logic as other arenas for similar missions, like FX, Eastern Transmitter. It's gaunt, with special attention paid to the central road, but unlike other locations, the forks are more elaborate. Don't outrace the truck too much. It might change its route, and then you'd have to take a detour, thus failing your team. Stuff like containers, rail tracks, or equipment are scattered around the map mostly for decorative reasons. The second map is called Broken Arrow. Vedak Varn Corporation once had vast territories to the south of the valley, where there were labs and high-tech manufacturing units, as well as small closed-serving towns. One of the objects found many years after the crossout was pretty much an unused private spaceport with a carrier rocket ready for launch. Was that an escape attempt? And why hasn't the ship launched? Do Dawn children and their alien technologies have something to do with all of this? Valuable resources and materials found in the town near the spaceport put those questions on the back burner and made it an arena for constant battles. It's a PvP arena and has the structure common for such locations. 2 respawn points are placed on the sides, while the capture zone is in the center. Map's terrains is one of the richest in the game. The combat points are connected with passages of different length. One of the short and fast ones is under the mountain, from where you can shoot through the significant part of map. Another one leads to the bridge, while the third one to the hideouts. Thus, you can hunker down waiting for a counterattack, try your sniper skills, or put the pedal to the metal. This map is for all types of crafts. The desert decor reminds you of Devil's Minery. While listening to our map reviews, you might have wondered about the Waste's geography. So have we. That's why we started creating a global map, which will unite all the missions and raids. It'll be included in one of the future updates. At the end of this section, we ask you to visit Founders Canyon. If you remember, we discussed this arena in the 11th episode. Well, it's been significantly remade. Experienced players complain that lots of wins are achieved here through base capture. That's why there are only 2 wide roads left, so you will hardly be able to elude the enemy. The map is much better adapted for hovers with their serious drifts. The covers, the landscape, the lighting, we've changed a lot. Founders Canyon can now, with a little stretch, be considered a new map. So, what are your emotions about the new arenas? Have you already tried the chase? Driven around Broken Arrow? Checked the second version of Founders Canyon? Don't hesitate to drop your impressions in the comments. For this week, our weapon crafters have prepared a detailed analysis. While in the previous episodes we talked about shotguns and miniguns, this time we discuss long-range weapons. On the agenda are direction weapons and rockets. Such guns are designed for the middle and long-range battles. Limited horizontal angles are compensated by lethal range and precision, while one-time damage and fast spray make up for low rate of fire. Direction guns are present in all categories of rarity apart from relic, and in each one only once. The most primitive model is called Avenger. It's crafted by mechanics for only 300 points of scraps, 5 points of energy, quite humble damage points. As with all other starter weaponry, there's nothing to be surprised at, apart from the fact that Avenger is used in crafting 7 other parts. The Judge is a more respectable gun. This is a rare grade part with almost 1,000 points of power aboard. It has no modifications, but for the same energy consumption deals way more damage. It's crafted on the Scavenger's Outpost for 3 Avengers, 2 wheels, 2 axle jacks, as well as scraps and copper. This faction will also craft the Executioner at your request, an epic gun with 1,170 power points and 443 points of structure. It shoots armor-piercing charges which explode after hitting 80 points of structure. In the hands of a good sniper, Executioner is a deadly weapon indeed, but it's hard to get. You'd have to put on a workbench 6 rare-grade parts, scraps, copper, and wires. Not everyone is able to handle this. Finally, a legendary tsunami. One can safely say it's a limited edition. It was once taken to the wastes by the road knights, and until recently it could be bought only on the market. Well, now it's finally available among Steppenwolf's legendary parts. Think about it. Almost 2,000 points power. 6 points of energy for this is more than acceptable. A solid solution for both a long-range craft and a Leviathan. For each 5 seconds of immobility, the damage is increased by 20%. This can happen 3 times in a row, which makes Tsunami truly a killing machine. But you gotta be careful. As long as the ride is immobile, it can be rammed by a contact weapon enemy which has just come out of the invisibility mode. 746 points of structure should be enough to protect the gun in case of a surprise attack. It's an unconditional leader in its category. As for direction rockets, there are only 2 of those in the game. There is a rare grade Wasp crafted at the Lunatic's cutting board. Only 48 points of structure with 740 points of power. 1 salvo makes 2 rockets. An Epic Cricket launches 5 warheads. It's not easy to aim, but if it hits, there'll be hell to play. With each 100 meters to the target, the dealt damage increases twice. Using direction rockets requires serious adjustment. You gotta come to peace with low precision, moderate range, delays after each salvo. But the overall damage in case of a direct hit justifies all of this. Still, we would recommend such weaponry to those experienced, or at least motivated to learn. Oh, wait, there's something here in the small print, there. No way. There are some corrections to other weaponry. Let's see. Hoblin's shotgun can now be crafted at the Lunatic's cutting board. The physical model of Defender has been changed. Whoa! The drones are now added into the weaponry category. The fighting one is now called Falcon. The rocket one, Eagle Owl. Accordingly, a simple turret is now called Cobra, while a rocket one, Anaconda. Seems like that's the end of our today's report. It's good to know. Let's look at the questions which were bothering our viewers last week. Will we be able to search for crafts in the exhibition mode by the nickname of its creator? We plan to further develop the exhibition mode. This feature is already in the list of planned changes. Why not add some entertainment mode like football? Targem already has experience in realizing such ideas. Who knows, we might just bring something like that to life in the future. How about a mobile app which will allow trading on an in-game market right from a smartphone? That's an attractive idea and we're already discussing it. Well, that's it for today, survivors. Come over in a week for fresh cross-out updates. Don't forget to leave your questions and opinions in the comments, and do me a favor, will ya? Tell your friends about this show. Be seeing ya. Hello, survivors. Welcome back to the garage, the Waste's vault of knowledge. You're watching the most in-depth and useful show for every true fan of Crossout. Subscribe now and don't forget to click the bell icon never to miss another episode full of good stuff straight from the devs. And don't forget that we now also have Crossout Show here. The best designers and drivers can compete for prizes. Get in, watch, take part. Buckle up, fellas. It's go time. Since hovers and parts of Dawn Children have already been available for some time to everyone, today's test drive is fully dedicated to the player's crafts. Don't forget, you can share your crafts in the exhibition mode. Rides which get most likes get a chance to be featured in our show. So, which armored crafts got your attention this time? Hovers and Command. A massive ride which immediately gets your attention thanks to neat crafting and blazing design. At the core of it, there's a 6x4 frame and a quantum cabin with 11 points of energy. 8 of those are used by 2 synthesis plasma emitters, symmetrically installed on each side. The ride moves on 4 Icarus hovers. Combination of the red moon and white sun dyes make the craft look like a futuristic race car and a flying tank simultaneously. Just by the looks of the craft, you already get the idea. Better stay away from it. In combat, HMK proves itself less impressive than promised by its looks. It's a pity that there isn't enough energy to install additional hovers. The flight accuracy leaves much to be desired. you'd have to get used to drifts. And you'd better not do this in real combat, but rather on a bot map. When in combat, it's better to always be on the move, only hovering near an enemy for pinpoint shots. Constant maneuvering must become a key element of your combat style. Synthesis guns deal out good damage, but take quite a long time to reload. Use them one at a time or constantly retreat and dodge, preparing for a new attack. Ideally, you should aim at the enemy's weaponry. As soon as you're done with it, it won't be much of a problem to finish off the ride's slower speed. Hover. The second craft looks almost like a complete opposite of the first one. 10 Icarus hovers may take up a significant amount of energy, but guarantee a smooth flight with almost perfect control. The cabin here is quantum again, and alongside a gas generator and a light engine, it ensures comfortable speed. There's even some energy left for installing 2 Hurricanes. The hover is crafted for long-range attacks. A salvo of 8 rockets will simply hit beside the mark if you're too close to the enemy. Chameleon invisibility module should provide coverage, while the craft takes in the rear and looks for a convenient place to attack. But there is a hitch. 2 rows of hovers give away the ride, even when it blends into surroundings. One might not notice this in the heat of the fight, but when the enemies are few, the stealthiness becomes formal. This is true for all hovercrafts, so fans of scientist parts should keep that in mind. Additionally, invisibility is off when you fire, and the module goes for a recharge. This is why, while fighting on a hover, you definitely need either ally support, which finishes off the enemy after the missile strike, or a well-timed retreat. The attack pattern is not the most common, but exactly due to its non-triviality, it might just work. Go for it. Finally, a couple of art crafts. It's pretty much impossible to fight on these, but we couldn't just walk past them. Can't help but admire their looks. They do remind us of something, some spaceships, right? Every time we show a part from the Hot Rod set, we get a barrage of questions in the comments. Today, we dwell on this set to dispel any misunderstandings. A quick historical background. Initially, a hot rod is an American ride, modified for achieving max available speed. We're not talking about any particular brand or model here, but a huge subculture. A ride of modest mass is usually needed for the rework, with all the unnecessary parts removed for more weight saving. These modifications gave the rides unusual looks, which later became their hallmark. Needless to say, the fun required some knowledge in tuning and modding. No surprise then that in the world of crossout, the tradition got a new lease on life. There's no shortage of good mechanics in the wastes. Hot Rod Parts set was available to all the crossout players during the closed testing stage. But after the transition into OBT, it became a console exclusive. In this show, we use recordings from test servers. This is why you might notice the parts even while watching on PC. As for common players, you can get most of the parts as a reward for loyalty to Steppenwolves, while the cabin can be seen in the Wastes Law PS4 bundle and Rough Days Xbox One bundle. The easiest craft using Hot Rod parts look like this. These parts are easily recognizable. Stylized as the first cars, they stand out among others. Streamlined form, smooth lines, a nearly total absence of sharp edges give away race purposes. However, the base characteristics are not so remarkable. Let's start with saying that rare parts have no modifications. The hood, for example, is 50 points of power. The trunk, 35. For illustration purposes, we've put all the parts with their characteristics into the table. However, the cabin is a whole different story. Pure classics, which have survived more than one modification, it's perfect for survival in the wastes, especially if the owner knows a thing or two about style. 10 points of energy is a decent foundation for any construction, while 120 points of structure guarantee margin of safety. A hot rod is an awesome basis for the ride of any Focus. The cabin is the only rare grade part in the set. A craft using as many set parts as possible will be very fast. It gathers good speed and maneuvers easily. The Lunatics combat style fans, which is all about fast motion and close range fights, will immediately feel horny. But it's important not to overload the craft with additional parts and accurately calculate the quantity and the disposition of wheels. Yeah, the hot rod is a console exclusive, but it won't bring radical changes into the global balance. We see here an iconic thing for speed connoisseurs. There's no critical combat advantages for set owners. This is why there's not much point in worrying that you don't have the set on your platform. By the way, exclusive parts may appear in any version of Crossout in the future. Follow the updates. The garage frequenters are traditionally among the first ones to know about these. For many fighters, the war in the wastes is not a disaster, but rather an opportunity to feast. Raiders make a living with nothing but robbery, and the goods need to be transported from time to time, be they robbed or bought. Moving around the world after the Crossout may be called comfortable at a great stretch. Ashfall is fractured because of the heat and explosions. Here and there, bodies of rusted rides stick out of the ground, debarring the passage, but more often, nature itself becomes the barrier. So, where a small armored ride may still push its way, a heavy loaded one needs to look for a detour. Important throughways can be counted on one hand. One such way is Eastern Array, passing through Control 17 Station. This territory is under control of the sinister Raider gang, who came from the contaminated and abandoned north. The Scavengers' leader, Scar AB, pays generously to any mercenary for guarding the transported goods. What's inside the trucks is unknown, but even the real danger doesn't change the status quo. Eastern Array is a map for PvE modes Convoy Escort and Chase, designed for 4 survivors. The enemies in both cases are not the players, but the AI raiders. The location is straight, with rare turns and a relay broadcast station in the center. It's more linear than the new Devil's Minery map, analyzed in the previous episode. This allows concentrating directly on defense or attack, which is an advantage for many players. Not long ago, we did some error corrections, transformed the arena, widening the roads. The missions have become more dynamic. In Convoy Escort, the truck must get to the destination point, with your help, of course. In the Chase, we're talking about 2 heavy trucks, with 4 tough escort vehicles and lots of support rides. To get the reward, follow this advice. You're going to be moving through mine areas. Make sure that your craft and the allies have rapid-fire weaponry. It's the only way to quickly clear the road for you and your truck, dodging serious casualties. Crafts of the same kind in one team will unlikely lead you to victory. It's better to use both slow armored vehicles and fast rides. Each will play its role in its own part of the way. Don't use PvP ride in raids. Craft a new ride or modify the existing one. Pay special attention to the defense. You'll definitely need it. To defend the cargo, a team will need one powerful and heavy craft. It'll destroy the invading enemies
draw the fire, push the truck when needed. The rest of the team must protect these two. A new week brings new questions from our viewers. Please allocate the melees and other modes during the day, not to deprive the players from other time zones of the opportunity to play those. According to our statistics, it's the exact time period that most players get into the melees. The time frame of this mode may change in the future. Will you introduce a new faction after level 10 of the Lunatics? New factions will be added into Crossout, but for now it's too early to say anything specific. We're working through the concept of a new faction. When will the new update be available for PS4? The work on console updates for Crossout is almost finished. We're now conducting final debugging. The release is to be expected in the soonest possible time. Well, that's it for today, survivors. Looking forward to seeing you in a week to spill some more facts about the Waste's battles. Don't waste your time. Gain experience and toughen up in fights. And also, subscribe and do me a favor, will you? Tell your friends about this show. Leave comments below. It's important for us to know your opinions. Be seeing ya. Hello, survivors. Welcome back to the garage, the Waste's Vault of Knowledge. You're watching the most in-depth and useful show for every true fan of Crossout. Subscribe now and don't forget to click the bell icon, never to miss another episode full of good stuff straight from the devs. And don't forget that we now also have the Crossout show here. The best designers and drivers can compete for prizes. Get in, watch, take part. Buckle up, fellas. It's go time. Survivors, we are once again heading to our training ground to test the new user builds from the exhibition. We want to remind you that if your machine can amaze either of us or the members of the community, we'll gladly show it in this section of our videos, so you're highly welcome. Scorpion Bazooka. Actually, the name speaks for itself. A huge tank armed with a devastating tsunami cannon. The humpback cabin is easily one of the most popular ones in the Wastes, and we will definitely talk about it again later in the video. 6 symmetrically placed mechanical legs, 3 on each side, help this transport to move. At this point, gas generator and Mach 2 engine can be considered as a must-have pack for crafts like this one. All 15 available energy points are used with nothing left to improve. The power score of this walking behemoth exceeds 9,000, and the structure level is almost 2,000. The scale of the machine seems to be the weakest point. Due to its large size, the Scorpion is an excellent target for an enemy craft. It's not so easy to hide, and the tank is always visible. Avoiding shots will be tricky as well. The mechanical legs are a pleasure to control, but the whole craft is relatively slow. This transport can unleash its fury only under protection of the fellow bodyguards. The damage, though, is more than remarkable. 2 shots will be enough to destroy or seriously damage an average enemy craft, and the install scope will help for sure. As a result, we have an unusual and interesting model representing a bright construction idea. You'll need to adjust a bit, but a skilled fighter with solid teammates can really save the day riding this one. Porcupine. What do we have here? Hovers plus mine layers is an interesting combination indeed. We don't even remember reconstructing anything similar. 6 turbines are a neat minimum for the chosen form factor. Powerful radar detector will help to reveal the enemy position, and the chameleon model can hide the transport from enemy eyes. But please don't forget that the fire from the hovers can reveal your position if you stay too close to the adversary. All weapons are long-ranged. 4 porcupines can fire explosive barrels at considerable speed rate. Nothing more to install here since the energy resource is completely exhausted. There can only be one strategy for this transport, and it's a lot of fun. The pilot finds a group of enemies, approaches them under the cloak of invisibility, and starts making chaos and fire. The craft itself will probably be destroyed soon, but the dealt damage will be irreparable. Imagine part of the map on fire with most of the enemy craft unable to move. By the way, it'll be nice to have some teammates nearby to finish the job. Survivors, we would also like to draw your attention to the 4P Monstro craft. This machine consists of 4 different parts, each one controlled by its own driver. You need to construct the transport right on the battlefield. The first part goes to the second one, and the third one to the fourth. In the end, you'll have a mini Leviathan for PvP battles. If you'll be able to perform on all these manipulations, please let us know in the comments section. Or share your experimental videos to Crossout Show via email. You can earn real prizes for your construction skills and creativity. The show comes out on the same channel. Check it out when you will have a minute. Survivors, last time we told you about the Hot Rod Cabin, an exclusive, but not the most effective part of the game. Today, we're gonna analyze other parts of this category and decide which are best for crafting your ride. Cabins are the basis of your ride. Along with weapons, they shape the style of your game. You should choose the part in accordance with your goals. All cabins can be divided into light, heavy, and balanced. You can get a rough idea of the part by its parameters, primarily mass and energy. Light cabins are designed for maneuver battles, where you don't expose yourself to fire. Such rides are quite small, while significant speed lets you cut behind the enemy. Heavy cabins is the direct opposite. They boast of way heavier tonnage as well as way more energy. Impressive power allows for more parts while not losing in speed. Balanced cabins are multifunctional and perform different tasks. Their speed still allows for unexpected maneuvers impossible for heavy crafts, while energy and tonnage are better than those of the light ones. In most cases, balanced cabins is the preferred choice. We've put all the 17 cabins, including the hot rod, into a comparison table. Let's analyze the most popular cabins of the wastes. Trucker, a rare scavenger's part. Heavy and durable cabin provides serious tonnage with very low acceleration. 11 points of energy, 240 points of structure, 750 points of power. These parameters combined help create a very dangerous craft. You'll have to pay with mobility though. It's gonna be a powerful but long-range ride, as you may guess by its name. Jawbreaker. This cabin has the same energy as the trucker. It can be crafted at Steppenwolf's portable workbench. The rough looks give away its military past. The form is very suitable for combat. Flat surfaces make enough space to install parts and weaponry. Humpback. Humpback has the same advantages as the Jawbreaker when it comes to installing the parts. But since it's an epic cabin, Humpback outperforms its rivals. It's a large and very durable cabin with 1,500 points of power and 300 points of structure. 12 points of energy let you install pretty much anything. To craft the cabin at Steppenwolf's Camp Workshop, you'll need copper, wires, scrap, a couple of jawbreakers, 2 APC wheels, and 2 engines. At a full stop of the ride, the aiming time reduces by half. It's a good part worth fighting for. Growl. Lunatic's cabin for the fastest crafts. Perfect for the close-range rides with contact weapons or shotguns. You can't go wild with only 9 points of energy. Speed parameters are among the best in the game. Rides based on a growl can maneuver fast, cut behind the enemy, prove to be very effective in raids. Don't forget that alongside Dawn Children, the game has now 2 more cabins, a rare Pilgrim and an epic Quantum. Their parameters are tailored for the scientist works. Since survivors didn't yet have time to learn all the nuances of the new parts, these 2 are out of the overall ranking for now, but they will show their worth later. Western Territories is one of the most unfriendly zones of the wastes. Heat, dust, storms, landslides, and raiders' attacks are not the only dangers lying in wait here. Attracted by the sounds of heavy vehicles working, Leviathans attack mining complexes and caravans. You have, of course, already heard of these enormous rides. Even in this show, we've demoed them more than once. Black boxes peeled away off their charred wreckage is the key commodity in the new world. That's why the outings into El Diablo Gorge bring solid returns to venturesome mercenaries despite the enormous risk. There's just an armed watchtower on the surface, but something suspicious happens underneath the sand. The ground shakes, moaning, and roars arise. Lights are seen in the sky at night. Sometimes it's better not to think about the hellish stuff happening there at all. The map layout is very simple, and that's understandable. An enormous ride is craving for your death. What other obstacles do you need? It's worth mentioning that the enemies here are user crafts. High-level gamers can assemble a Leviathan and then send it to combat for the whole damn night. And a corresponding PvE mode, it runs into all gamers with matching PowerPoints automatically. If Leviathan wins, its author gets a reward. The giant is controlled by AI, and the craft can be recalled ahead of time for readjustment. All installed modules can be used on other rides simultaneously. In one raid, survivors collide with 3 enemies in a row. Even if your giant is destroyed by the attackers, the other craft secure a victory, everyone gets the reward. If you look at the mission on the other side of the barricade, the fights against Leviathans are definitely one of the most difficult types of raids. It's inadvisable to get too close to the giant. You won't be able to compete in combat power. Long-range weaponry is necessary. This list includes guns, missiles, and artillery. Machine guns and shotguns are less effective because you'll definitely get into a powerful counterattack while staying in their combat range. A nicely crafted Leviathan needs only seconds to completely destroy a ride. If you see that the giant is aiming at your ride, escape the firing line and dodge it until it focuses on another victim. Remember that enemy lethality in raids increases with each stage. If the parameters of the first one cover barely half of your team power points, the last foe attacks at full force. Watch out and, if possible, shoot off the weaponry. In due course, this will help you come closer, dealing more damage. Time to see which questions bother. bothered you the most last week? Are you guys planning to expand ride search at the exhibition? In the future, we plan to refine the exhibition interface, including additional assortment and draft search ways. Any plans to add a harpoon? We're working on adding harpoons into Crossout, and I've already tested several prototypes.
So what about special events or cards for Christmas or Halloween?
Holidays won't steer clear of the wastes. Stay tuned. Well, that's it for today, survivors. As always, looking forward to seeing you in a week. Ever ready for new discoveries? The most interesting stuff is still ahead. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comments and tell your friends about the show.
Oh, you'd be dead. One of those things hitting you would just kill you. By the way, IRL,